All right, be ready.
That's exactly what I mean. All right, it's
Neil, before we
9:30.
leave here today, let's figure out these minutes.
Do the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is Dan online? Fine today? On Zoom?
I do see a Dan on.
Yeah, that would be Dan Preston.
Let me.
I think we got two.
What?
Probably my wife.
Yeah, three, yeah. And an anonymous for you.
I've got 7 people on this,
Okay.
and I do see a Dan T.
Let's
That's him.
unmute him because we need to make sure he's the right.
Actually, you probably mute everything except for customers' comments.
Let's see. Everybody is muted. Good morning, Dan. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Loud and clear.
And I'll put this speaker over.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
He can hear you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So roll call.
Yes, sir. We have all members present. We have Mr. Truckee via Zoom this morning, and as part of your motion to approve the agenda, you need to recognize and authorize his participation for extenuating circumstances by Zoom.
So I make a motion that we allow Dan to participate during the meeting in the Zoom.
I second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. You're in, Dan.
Thanks, guys.
How's the
Anything
shoulder?
else? PT is going good. It's nice. It makes it feel better. So getting better.
Can you still do dishes?
No,
Think you're milking it.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, that takes us down to item 3 today. I didn't see anyone on the sign-up sheet, but we have public comment today for items that may not be otherwise on the agenda index. If any members of the public who are here who have a comment or a question?
We have an itinerary, is it the agenda?
There's Pat.
No, they're right there by the cookies.
Lisa, I'll get you one.
Okay, I do have just a question.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, our minutes are
Yeah,
transcribed. and
Lisa
so-
Sager, 166 Sunset Cape. I'm just curious, who is in charge of like making sure that the sidewalks are cleared in that? And I only ask that because 2 houses down from us, if you look down, it's like half of the, they tried to do something with one side, but the other side, I mean, it's just growing over, and then it's not only that, but it's growing over in the curb area.
That
So
new
when it,
house.
huh?
That
It's
new house.
Yeah,
Yeah, we knew that was gonna happen because they planted right up against it.
Oh, you're not supposed to plant in that area.
What would we do? Give
I
them a
spoke to
notice?
the
or-
county.
what's that?
I met with Jack McKenna at the county, and that was one of the things I brought up. So-
Yeah, because I mean, it's not only on the sidewalk side, but on the curb side. I mean, there is so much weeds and stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, when it rains, I have to think
What did Jack say about
It's something that we have to handle.
it? That we have to,
Yeah,
okay,
so.
so how do we
We had a
handle
big
it?
discussion about the rear swales and that kind of stuff, so.
What's the street again?
Sunset Cape.
He gave me a couple of people to talk to at the head of code enforcement, so I'm gonna talk
So-
to them this coming week.
Look, rather than go into code enforcement,
Well, no,
can-
I'm going there to find out.
well, no,
what-
I understand that, but
What
I'm
it
talking,
is.
I'm talking about as far as dealing with this residents.
Yeah, I'd
Can
rather-
we have Kevin
Knock on the door?
knock on the door or give him a call or write him a letter or do whatever you want? Actually, knocking on the door would probably be great.
Right, okay.
Are they there?
Not all the time. weekends are the best to get them,
Okay.
because it seems to be their weekend fun home. So,
Yeah, we
One
could-
72 that you're talking about?
174 would be my
174.
guess.
Okay, I knew it was
I just
close.
figured I'd ask the county.
I'm
if
sure
we
I'll
had
find
any
it.
recourse before we beat on the door.
Yeah, and if the be a good neighbor thing doesn't work, then
Right.
we need to ask Soto to go by there and either weed eat that or edge it and blow it off. If it's growing over the top, it's like a gutter or the curb there.
It is. I just
Okay.
walked it this morning.
It's like a
and you
tunnel.
always gotta walk around because you
Yeah.
can't walk between because he's got the one shrub this way and the one the other way. Literally, you got about this much of the
It's
sidewalk.
an existing home or home under construction?
It's been under construction for quite a while. I don't know if they've got permanent occupancy there or not. Probably they do,
Okay.
but it's,
The last
It's a
time
jungle.
I asked,
Huh?
it was a while ago, the last time I asked, I said, well, I noticed you didn't have a CO, and then his smile went
Yeah, we'll-
down and he wasn't very nice. So,
well, let's try to do it the friendly way first.
Okay. I thought when that house was first built and they first planted that stuff in there, I thought somebody had approached them and told them they were gonna have to keep that
We did.
clear because we knew it was gonna
We did.
overgrow
We
it,
did.
so.
it's a problem.
We'll
I
deal
mean,
with it.
there's snakes in there, I mean, it's a problem.
You don't like snakes?
No, when I seen it, I just about, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other public comment?
Okay.
Barring any, then that takes us down to item 4. This is the further consideration of the minutes from your regular meeting that occurred on July the 21st. I did get some additional comments from Mr. Schmidt. And in addition, we had Kevin of our staff go through it and do some edits for clarification. This meeting, as you know, was continued to the 31st, and I have not received those draft set minutes, but I can tell you that Annalise has offered to encourage us to maybe get her an advance set of minutes within a week following the meeting, so that we can, for clarity, look at, do some edits before they become part of the draft agenda for the following meeting. And so with her willingness to do that, we will turn those minutes around a little quicker and maybe have a set of board eyes look at them in addition to notes that you may have on your own, just to try and get a better draft set on the front end and then minimize the number of changes that are necessary at the back end. But any comments or suggested revisions for the set in front of you this morning?
So let me get this straight. This is from back in July. What about the 2 meetings in between?
This meeting was continued to the 31st of July, and I do not have those set yet. We outsource the preparation of the minutes, and she's been backlogged due to the number of other budget hearings that we've conducted over the last month. But going forward, I'm not opposed to trying to get a preliminary set of minutes within a week and share those with Ms. Hanson in order to get caught up.
We've been hearing this excuse since you guys started. Why aren't we getting this stuff 7 days in advance like you contracted to us?
I don't know that we've ever promised to get them 7 days in advance. I know that this is the first time that we didn't have, our most recent meeting was 2 weeks ago, and she can't turn them around that quick unless I ask her to accelerate them.
We didn't hire you to outsource everything. It's still your responsibility to get the stuff done in a timely manner.
Did we ever get anywhere with, it seemed like the community and everybody was happier when we were broadcasting it on YouTube. Are we?
We're still doing that. Right?
Yeah, we.
It's still on YouTube?
And recorded and upload every meeting video and have since June.
Oh, okay.
Now-
All right, I haven't seen, we used to have an apparatus here.
As long as we're talking about that, I asked Frank Lee that was here last time if he would work on getting the equipment, and I thought he was going to get it done for today, but he didn't quite get it done. Joyce, did you deal with those guys on this week? With getting audio and visual stuff in here.
Yesterday,
Okay,
said that what he needs to do, I'm not so sure that he needs to hardwire for that. And a cord, it's going to come all the way here, all the way around. Because you're not sitting up there, it would be like.
okay.
So he said he's planning for October to try and have sex.
He spoke to me after the meeting. Is that the sort of?
Frank, yeah.
Yeah, he spoke to me after the meeting, and I also passed out today. I also spoke to the firm that videos all of our county meetings at Pelican Bay. And he sort of gave me a rough proposal that I got yesterday afternoon. It's a little more expensive than I think that you would want to spend. The nature of the proposal that I put in front of you there was, he averaged about 3 hours. That includes their travel time. The estimate was like $675 plus $150 an hour for any meetings that take more than 3 hours. But he's also including travel time, just given the fact that their offices are somewhere in North Naples. So
That's
I
not
don't know that you want to go to that extent. You know, that's, I think, beyond the budget, but we got a proposal from a video company. What we do is there's a camera in this iPad, and the videos that we take of the meetings are uploaded generally the Monday after the meetings onto your YouTube channel.
Now, speaking with Frank yesterday, he mentioned about the logistics in here, and he was wondering if it was going to be a problem to put in what we needed here, if we could use the egret room over in the hotel. I thought he was going to have something in writing for us this morning, but I didn't see it. But so, you think that's something that's going to work here or isn't? That's up to you now.
Well, I told him you can't leave it there, obviously, but he says he would come and look it up. For the meeting. If we're over here, it's going to run in front of the restrooms, which concerns me, of wire, going there, for you to take it down, or whatever. But, I mean, it doesn't bother me, once it's, so it's picked up again. But if you could be there, it'd be like a short wire.
I wonder if we could put some kind of a screen in front of that door, where we still could get air into it, and to block that noise. You know what I mean? So we could still work over there. What do you guys think?
It was very, very hard on the video because you hear that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we could put a screen in front of it, if that would help, because we got to have the air on.
What about meeting over in that corner or something versus having to run wire with the cord in front of the bathrooms? You were further away from the noisemaker, but not in front of the bathrooms.
What do you think?
Right.
Okay, we could try that.
You could try one of the wire.
Okay.
Because he mentioned. For a while.
Sure. That was Dave Keyser, right? Okay.
Has anybody looked at putting in a booster?
We've talked about it. Dave Keyser knows this stuff, so by the next meeting, we'll have equipment.
And Frank is the fellow with the beard that spoke near the end of our meeting last time. He offered to coordinate this with me. He asked me if I thought that, or if the board would be willing to buy some equipment
I don't think Frank
to
does it.
include maybe some PA microphones and things like that. And I said I was pretty sure that you would, if we were going to actually purchase, a sound system.
Frank is that,
Yeah.
he doesn't have a beard though.
Okay. But he
Looks like he's a-
wired.
Huh?
It looks like he has a beard.
Frank does?
Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
my
he
mistake.
came up and introduced himself to me after the meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Last 2
Yeah.
weeks ago.
He's working on it.
Okay, if any of you have his phone number, I'll get it and I'll follow up with him because we had that conversation when we were originally.
Okay, good enough.
See,
Sorry.
Whatever was done before. that, Al had sent us, well, they were always there, never heard about the video. You know, at least came to them. And their camera was there with that. But, you know, so they kind of was.
Okay, I'll mention it to him. Thank you. Moving on.
Yeah, Tony's indicated that he has no suggested or further changes to the minutes of the 21st. I need a motion to adopt those, and I'll endeavor to coordinate within 7 days, advance minutes for all future meetings. Is there a motion to accept them as amended?
That was the 21st of
July.
July, and that one was not extended. I mean, as long as we have the video there, that's all I'm concerned about. So
Are you making the motion?
I make the motion that we accept the minutes. I think 21st.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried.
Thank you for that. Item 5A today is further consideration of the RFP for district engineering. We began this discussion 2 weeks ago. I gave a little executive summary over the two firms that were responsive. I was able to confirm in the interim, the reason that we did not get a timely response from the third firm, they had a cyber attack at their firm that shut down their computer system for 3 weeks. That ended up involving some ransomware, and he apologized for that. And I told him, well, you know, disappointed, but under the circumstances, he missed the deadline by 4 hours. And so I had determined that he was unresponsive. That was Johnson Engineering from Fort Myers. The board seemed willing to want to proceed with this. We had developed a ranking sheet. I will need each one of you to complete that ranking sheet. A number of you had done it in advance of the meeting today. Let me have those. You'll need to put your name on them because they do constitute a voting record. And I've got 4. And Dan, if you can indicate to us offline or through a text message, if you have had it. I did not realize you were going to be out of town today.
I have the sheet. I'll get it to you right after the meeting.
Thank you. And then we'll compile those then, unless Tony, who's raising his hand, is.
Are you going to do this today or wait till next week?
I think they wanted to do it today.
If Dan could take a picture of this ranking sheet
Can you,
and then send it to.
if you can text it to me, Dan, then we can announce what the consensus of the board is before the end of the meeting.
And then drop it in mail or email.
Yeah.
Get that, Dan? Thank you.
Yep, I heard that. Yep.
Further consideration, I'm on to 5B now for proposals for mosquito control. We contacted 4 different firms from your meeting 2 weeks ago. In addition to one from Kish Pest Control, we also spoke to Turner Pest Control, Naples Pest Control, and Mosquito Joe, who I'm told has an existing relationship with this community on behalf of either associations or private clients. 2 of them did not respond, Turner and Naples. Kish sent a revised proposal that is part of the backup materials for your agenda. I had extensive conversations with Mosquito Joe and their license holder as late as yesterday. I expected to get a proposal from them. I did not through the end of the day. So when, you know, there may be one coming, but he understood that I was going to be here today, but I spoke to him for some time. Stephen Royal is the qualifier for that company, but I had not received a proposal from them. In addition, on your behalf, I also had a lengthy phone meeting with Collier County Mosquito Control to bring me up to speed on their annexation and boundary expansion failure of last year. They think they have that cured, and they are going to resubmit this fall another local bill to annex additional lands to include Port of the Islands and also Ave Maria. He was very courteous, and I asked him, would he consider in the interim an interlocal agreement with this government to begin aerial and ground spraying in anticipation that the bill would be approved and the effective date would be October of 2024. And so it would be the 2025 fiscal year that they would begin. He seems very interested and also indicated that he would be willing to come to your meeting next month to explore this further. They have an existing interlocal agreement with the Ave Maria Stewardship District, which is similar to your district here. And I think they're primarily interested because they spray Marco and Midland now, which are only 8 miles southwest of here from by air, and for their herbicide program that they do with helicopters and their other aerial spraying that they do with flames. He is very intrigued by servicing this community as a result of your proximity and the flying time from Goodland.
Is that something that we could get going right away?
He's willing to come next month, and in advance, if he has a interlocal agreement in place with the Ave Maria community, I've already asked him for a copy of that so that we could evaluate that, share it with the board, have Tony take a look at it. But it would be in anticipation that it will be more successful. The reason for the denial of the expansion last year had more to do with Governor DeSantis and his fight with Disney in the Reedy Creek district. And the legislature essentially shut down any special bills for special districts across the state during the dispute that entailed last year. So,
So
I
if
thought
they,
it was productive.
if they did the aerials, we would still continue to do the ground stuff.
I told him that I thought that you would. I don't know the extent to which the Collier district does any ground level spraying. When I first moved to town here 4 years ago, they did, but they kind of got out of that at the same time that they quit spraying with old DC3s. If any of you have been in town that long, they used to mix the insecticide with diesel fuel. That they would spray that way. But he gave me a lot of time. It was Monday when I spoke to him. He is very interested in the tax base here for obvious reasons. It will take him another 13 months before he can incorporate you in, but he's willing to explore a contractual or interlocal agreement in the interim period of time. And I told him that I thought that you would want him here and at the October meeting if we could advance that.
How do you feel the mosquito population's doing now? Are we seeing any rise or decrease?
I got chewed up, even right after I spray.
Okay,
So I don't think
it's not getting better.
No.
Well, I'm telling you, I think the
Especially
spray's
for
breaking
old
down.
people.
So I wonder if we could get him sooner than later.
His name is Patrick Lynn. In advance of that, on background, I also spoke to Nate Phillips, who is the operations director, to get a better understanding of what they're doing in Ave Maria. Patrick Lynn is the executive director of the district, and he's the one that would be responsible to come and make a presentation and hopefully have a draft agreement in advance if you're willing to do that. And I told him I thought you would, but that I was going to see you today and I would let him know how we were proceeding on Monday.
Lisa, were you planning on calling him or just getting his
No,
name?
I'm just.
She
Okay.
takes her own notes.
So I'm wondering if we could get a hold of him, get a price, and maybe we could make a motion today to approve an aerial spraying with a certain amount of money cap on it. What do you folks think?
How would we know what the cap would be? I mean, I have no idea.
Let me see what they're doing for Ave Maria, because it's,
Can you?
I can get some economies. He did say your situation here is somewhat unique because of you have salt marsh here and wetlands, and he was giving me more information than I wanted. But if you're willing, I'll have him here next month and we'll have some framework, hopefully to present to you at that time.
Let's not wait a month though to see if we can get the interim spraying done. I would like to see that done in a matter of days if we could.
Is that the mosquito control district?
Yeah.
Brian? Yeah, and the question is whether or not they'd be willing to do it absent your written interlocal agreement. And that would require a board action and review. So that's the question. Is you willing to do it without having formal interlocal agreement?
Because it'll be another 5 weeks before we can do that.
I don't know. I'm happy to ask him if he'd come and maybe do a pilot spraying or something on what would amount to like a purchase order or arrangement that I could work out. I can explore that with him.
Yeah, if it's possible, let's get it done right away.
What's the
If
price
we can
cap
figure
on
out how to do it.
What's the price cap?
What's the frequency?
What's our limit?
Why don't you use the same guidelines for what we're paying for now? I mean, with the ground spray, I mean, if it's the same per month,
I don't think it-
How much is it?
I don't know.
Oh,
Surely pilots cost
I
more.
I don't want to look at that stuff, but
Your current budget is like $1,000 a month.
I wouldn't think it would cost more than $1,000 to have aerial sprayed, especially if they're out. But, I don't know that for a fact.
Yeah, I don't own a plane, I never will, but it's a function of engine hours and things like that,
Well,
but
But the thing of it is, if it's effective,
it's a
in,
no-brainer, yeah.
then we should do it.
well, you
Why
say,
don't we put a cap at like 2,000?
Are you talking about for $1?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I mean, because what we're doing right
don't
now
know what
isn't
it would be.
working.
We don't know. what it
well,
would
we
be.
don't,
Say
we
price.
gotta get the stuff back get the trailer back into the water treatment plant. I thought we were gonna do that today too. Iron that out, getting that terrace thing cleaned up. Because like I said, I think that material, it used to work, so it must be breaking down inside into that,
Just
container.
in the trailer itself.
Yeah,
So we would dump the trailer and,
no,
or just add some more to it.
put the trailer into the water, back into the warehouse.
Right.
What about the stuff that's in there now? You said it's not working.
Well,
But he would just add fresh stuff to it.
well, yeah, it hasn't been back in the container since they filled it. I keep it in the driveway because I figure it's cooler there. I keep it covered, but I don't know if that's
Well,
helping or not.
but if it's the consensus of the board, I don't know if he's willing to do a pilot, a spraying in the absence of a formal agreement, but if he is, and my contract gives me the ability to spend
Sure.
for goods and services, I think it's $2,500 or something like that. Unless it's an emergency, this doesn't rise to the level of emergency, but let me follow up with him and I will ask him to be at your October meeting for a more formal proposal, both in terms of the reconsideration of the annexation and maybe some rules. If he's willing to come in here on a one-time spot treatment kind of basis and perform a spraying, and we compensate him for that through some sort of purchase order or a proposal that I can approve it. But regardless, I'll share, I'll give you all an update as soon as I speak. I won't wait till next month.
That would be nice to know.
We need to know what he's using,
It's a chemical.
the chemical.
He alluded to that. I didn't write that down, but I will ask him.
And how often he sprays Marco or
He did say
Goodwin now.
It's a hybrid approach because the majority of what they do with the helicopters is to kill larvae floating in water. And then aerial spraying with the airplanes is a different thing. So let me just do some fact finding, but I will see if I can make arrangements to have Mr. Lynn here at its meeting in October.
Sounds good.
I have a question. Esplanade is really growing and they're putting in many more homes. Are they being sprayed? Esplanade right up the street from us on 41, the new JIG housing development. Are they part of the Collier County current spray? I mean, they're a new development. I mean, it's coming out our way, so I don't know if they're being sprayed.
They have a very detailed service area map on their website, but
He was saying it'll be a year before they can change us into that.
Right, but I was just saying, here we have a new development right up the street from us, and they're building even more homes. I'm wondering if they're being treated by Collier County right now in Naples, and we're just right down the road from it. That's why I'm wondering. He's spraying Marco and Goodland, but then Collier County, I'm wondering who's servicing those people, and if they have a mosquito problem. I'm just saying, you know, we're right down the road. Is there a way to find out?
I don't know, but I would refer you to their website because they have a very good service area map that also shows the current area that they're spraying under contract at Ave Maria. Ave Maria is not in the district either.
Right, and so are you saying that Collier County?
Mosquito control district, they're totally separate from county government. They're an independent district with an independently elected board, similar to the fire district. And they have a very good website.
So what would it be called?
Collier County Mosquito Control District.
Okay.
Next item that I have is I think we sort of talked about the consideration of the audio visual services. If someone has Frank's contact information, I did want you to know that we were able to certify your tax roll and get it transmitted to the property appraiser prior to their self-imposed deadline. And so
Did we have to send out another mailing too?
No, when I electronically transmit the tax roll to the property appraiser in a form that is acceptable to him to merge onto the tax bill, and then he sends it to the tax collector to include the ad valorem taxes.
And we don't have to send out a letter to each individual?
No.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
I wanted you to know that we were home free. We had your meeting 2 weeks ago. Today, Allie Coleman in our office worked over the weekend to get the roll. I need to thank somebody on behalf of the boat condominium because I had told Mr. Sullivan that I needed the delineation between liveaboard and regular slips before the end of Friday, and somebody got it to me. I don't know who it was. I know this lady may have had something to do with that. So
Did you forward that on to Dan Truckee?
Dan's been in the loop, and in fact, Dan also provided some subsequent information to us from their condominium documents.
All right.
Apparently, that delineation is established in their conduct documents, and we did not have access to those. But yes, I think Dan's been involved in that. Dan provided to us going forward some of the backup because Russ Wire had asked for it for his files too.
From what I'm understanding is after this last meeting, when the dock master brought up the gray water situation, piqued a lot of.
Sources are warning that heavy arms could be making their way from Mexico.
So.
Yeah, make the notations.
Guys, good morning. It's good to be with you. There are several articles out on the national level.
With the resident who's accidentally muting of herself. But,
okay.
The final item that I had, Tony, I'll need your help here. There's been a lot of email back and forth about a easement use agreement for the home on Hayes Drive. The end of the cul-de-sac. I saw some stuff from Patrick Neal. Is there any easement use authorizations that we need today?
No, the board's already authorized. This is on 162, 163 Sunset Case. The board's already authorized entering into it. As part of the deal, they're going to pay 50/50 or pay 50/25/25, I think, for the maintenance costs in the future. So what I first wanted to do was get confirmation that the graphic that they had provided of the drainage structure was that the board had approved. And they confirmed that, but I don't have anything back yet from MES. So I sent the Form EAU document to Pat Neal, the attorney for Mr. Mester. Since he is an attorney, I can only deal with his attorney. And so hoping that they will allow me to wrap that up with them by next Friday, so I can then put that on the board's agenda for the next meeting to get signed by the board, and also to notify Collier County that they, Mess and his neighbor have agreed to this agreement along with the cost. Sure.
That'll be a done deal then.
I'm hoping.
Okay.
I think Annalise is also
Yeah,
hoping.
I'm
because-
done with it.
Yeah. Annalise is very, very active.
And then we have the other one too.
Thomas, I think that's in your agenda packet. That's the Russell Swale, the fill-in swale, and they've signed it. I think you've signed it also, Mr. McNeil. But it's ready to, I'm not sure, I can't remember if I said it's recording or not yet. It's been a flurry of weeks.
Well, I've gotten an email from the missus at that address, and they're still concerned that this isn't moved forward fast enough.
Couldn't be moved forward until they sign the document. Now they have the document, we have drawing.
Is the document's been signed?
Yes, in fact, I think the signed copy
Okay.
is in your,
After this meeting, I'm gonna notify the county.
Okay, so
Did they ask me to
she
call?
was also sent me something about a certificate of occupancy too, that was outstanding. I don't know what we have to do with that.
that's not ours, that's correct. The county may be holding it up until they get the use agreement, I don't know.
That's probably what it is. I'm jeepers, let's get this one done.
It's a done thing. All
Okay.
I needed was to sign paperwork. I will contact Don, who is the investigator on that. I tell him it's done. He asked me to call him after the meeting.
Okay, now, as long as we're on that residence,
I believe this one was reported by Kevin Carter of my staff on Monday of this.
I'll double check while we're in the meeting.
okay. One other thing with that address, they got a $4,200 water bill.
Well, I guess they gotta talk to Matt about that.
Do we know what's going on with that, Matt?
We ran an advanced report because the software gives us the ability to flag anomalies from the meter readings. And there were only 4, and I believe they were all resolved. If you give me the address for this resident.
I think that's that 199, isn't it?
199 Case Drive.
Okay. There were only, we run a special report in advance to identify potential misreads or rereads.
So you saw that then already?
I didn't actually review it, but I was told that there were 4 anomalies on the August meter reading that they performed, and they coordinated and resolved those. But now that I have this address to match that, I'll see whether they were on that report or not.
Who is they that's, you said we're monitoring those 4, who's they?
Muni Billing generates the report, and they send it to Kevin and to Florida Utility Solutions in advance of the bills being sent to the printer. So if there was an anomaly, it needed to be on that report, because in that case, they go back out and they reread those individual accounts.
So do you know if you saw those 4 reports?
There's only one that I know of that we reread, and it's because we couldn't find the meter and it wasn't responding, and it was underneath some shrubs and mulch. So
Okay.
we went up there and dug it up, but that's the only one I know.
So where's the disconnect?
And before me.
Where do you suppose the disconnect is then?
I don't know. That's why I wanted their physical address, because I could cross-reference the incident report with their bill. But if they got a $4,000 water bill, we need to know that for our system to see whether or not it was read properly.
I thought there was something in with these meters that every week or every 2 weeks or something, there was a read that you would get notified if there was an unusual usage on one of the meters. No?
The only way we can read the meters is we have to do a drive-by where we have like a computer truck that transmits to the meters. So
They don't physically read the meters.
No, I know, but I thought there was something you know,
SCADA's. what you're
yeah,
thinking
something
of.
at the home base or something that, like, they would throw up a flag. I thought that's what we,
No.
no, okay.
I thought that's what it was said that too. So no one would get.
Right, so it wouldn't happen, or if it did happen, if there was a break, we would know, seeing it's every 2 months, we would know ahead of time. Maybe we should go to every month billing then. If we, you know what I mean, if there isn't something in place,
Or at least read it.
or something,
I thought the software was capable of doing what Russ is saying.
yeah.
Well, it's-
But again, what has to happen though is that drive-through in order for it to be registered. And maybe that's something that Matt can look into and see if that can. get that
Well,
through.
The only way that software works is if you have a device on your meter. Sends something back to SCADA's. That's the only way it works.
Okay, so then we have to do this more frequently. You know, we can, why let it go 2 months and then
Because we
sprays and
Didn't
bills?
catch it on the bill because we didn't bill.
Well, I know.
Months. But my question about it is, you say that there was 4 flags. He's saying he knows of 1. My question is, where's the disconnect? Why is he not knowing the same thing you know?
Well, that is typically done with the help of Elena in their office. If there was only one, when they reread them, only one of them reported a trouble. I don't know what's involved in the reading, but my information was that they flushed out and they reread those 4. If there is a disconnect, I'm not aware of it, but I'd be happy to speak to Elena today or find out whether or not there was a final reading. The fact that these people got a bill for $4,000 should not have occurred based off of the protocol.
And they were complaining that they're being put on hold for long periods of time and the communication system with muni billing and whatnot is not functioning.
Yeah, I can
I
take the
call, I
only
didn't have a problem.
calls that we've had were very favorable. If they've encountered, in fact, I had somebody from Kansas. Yeah, we were on the phone with them yesterday. We had somebody show up at our office who wanted to pay a bill in person. And we facilitated that because they were concerned that, you know, they were getting ready to come back to town or something. So we got them on the phone immediately.
So what do I tell these people?
I'll reach out to them. I want to verify, if it was on the trouble report, if it was one of the 4, was it reread? And if they had specific problems with muni billing, we now have a warm body individual there that we can speak to on behalf of our account.
Could we deal with this right away? 199 Case Drive?
Yeah, I got it. And their last name is Thomas.
Yes.
Do you happen to have a phone number for them?
I don't.
Also, what I would need is, I'm just going back to looking on the use agreement, the one that was recorded was for a different one. I think if I can get an email address, it's all ready for them to sign. But I need, does anybody have an email address for them? They can send that to me. Or somehow they can call.
You've got it ready to sign?
Yeah, I think it's ready to on the 8th.
Did they get it?
Well, I don't have any.
Well, send it to me. I'll drop it off at their house. I'll print it out and drop it at their house.
Okay, I think I sent it on the 8th last Friday, asking about an email address, so I'll resend it.
I
Okay,
think it's actually in the.
I'll get it to
report
them.
back.
Yeah, it is.
It's in this?
It's in our report back, yeah. It's in
Okay,
our-
well, I'll get it to them, get it signed and get it turned around.
Has to be notarized.
Then you can sign
My
it.
wife can
notarize
notarize
it.
I don't know.
And also, yeah, it is.
You
It is in
sign
the
it?
book, that's correct. Yeah.
As it was in the case of that one, a member of my staff will go and have it recorded.
Okay.
Once you're in possession of it.
All right.
I don't mind, if you have a version without, I don't care if it has holes in it or not. Quite frankly, take the one in the book, and then this one.
Is this one extra?
And we-
Yeah. I know, we can have that one.
Okay.
Well, it's just,
I don't mind. I can give it to my president and secretary.
We can get that
That's the
one.
same one. I gave
How many
it.
notaries?
I thought it was like, we were just talking about it.
No, it's supposing it's in here. It's in here.
That's the expensive.
It is?
Yes.
so we can.
Would it-
Where would that be?
Would it be worth setting something up with Mitch that when we get these flags, if there's only a 3-4 flags that he automatically rereads those meters to start the review process?
Okay, People were distracted. Can you say that again?
Should we set something up when those flags come up and we have 3 or 4 flags or whatever on meters that the bill were too high? Can we work with Mitch where that would automatically go to Mitch and he can reread those meters to start that review process right away? So we're not kicking it down the road.
That process is already in place, Dan. That report gets run and it gets shared and the meters get reread in advance of them being sent to the printer.
Okay, fair enough.
Steve, I don't know if you heard, Tony's willing to have you execute a copy of the agreement that is in the backup material.
I got it here.
Okay, and
I have it. Marcine can't,
So question,
because she's your wife.
Yeah, if you could sign it,
Because I have to sign it too.
if you could sign it, yes, and then
I'll do it.
Annalise can notarize your signature.
Okay.
And you can attest.
All right,
and
we'll
I'll
get it
make
done.
arrangements to have Kevin come pick it up and we'll get it recorded.
Well, no, and then someone needs to get it to Thomas's, whether it's Annalise or
I will.
Steve.
He
Okay,
don't- he
very
don't-
good. Great, thank you.
Yeah. I forgot what it was. Go ahead.
Item 6 today are the financials. I had given the board a review of the June financials when I last saw you, but we've also included the July financials, or those through 10 months that are behind the next tab in your agenda materials, or as of July 31st. At that time, a couple of highlights here. There was about $4.2 million in cash associated with both the general fund, $3.1 million, an additional $623,000 in the utility fund. There is the separate money market account that is depicted there on the balance sheet of $690,000. There were $57,000 in payables that were outstanding at the end of the month that are shown on the liability side of the balance sheet. Looking over on the income statement just for a second. On the revenue side, I think it's worth noting interest earnings for the month of July were $16,000 on your account. The original budget forecast from a year ago only had $2,000 for the entire year. So our revised forecast is going to be just somewhere around $165,000 to $170,000 in interest earnings. Obviously, that flows all the way through to the bottom line and should be very good news. On the expense side of the income statement, and again, we've alluded to this, year-to-date expenses for both civil engineering and legal fees are above the original budgeted amounts, but we discussed that during the course of the budget hearing as well 2 weeks ago. There were some unusual repairs to the utility side that are shown on the both electricity. Mitch, I flagged that. I need to have some indication just why we think, and again, we didn't develop this budget, but year to date, electrical consumption for the plant is $94,000 through 10 months. The original budget, conceivably based off of experience, was like $30,000 less than that. So we're $30,000 over the annual budget amount.
LCEC is up 30%. LCEC billing's up 30%.
Rates?
Yeah.
Our rate should be a little different, but it just, if we can sort of run that down, not a big deal there. We also had the previously discussed repairs to the water plant that are about $47,000 over the adopted budget. There have been no major capital improvements expensed, but there will be some early in the course of the new year, especially on the wastewater side. The other thing that we've talked about previously was there has been no debt service component to the utility budget because this board and the prior board had paid off that short-term debt that was there. So the year-to-date principal and interest reduction payments on debt service are zero because of the fact that the $1 million was prepaid. Total expenses overall, because of the placeholders on the capital side, we're about $740,000 year-to-date under budget. And so your cash position remains very strong, and with just a couple of exceptions, your overall operating and capital budget are in accordance with the original adoption, or they're substantially less on the capital side for the reasons that we talked about. Brought up 2 weeks ago, in addition to our normal transmittal, we have shared some detail and copies of invoices with the chairman because he likes to have a look at those. I think over time that will sort of take care of itself. About 95% of our total expenses are reflected in about 5 different vendors, and depending on the purchase of chemicals, sometimes it includes a 6th vendor as well. But we've made that adjustment and we'll provide those to him in advance of the inclusion of financial statements in the subsequent meetings. Happy to answer any questions, or you can entertain a motion to accept them as presented.
I'll make a motion that we accept them as presented.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
That takes us down next to utility operations summary for the month of August.
Well, that's not Mitch. That's Matt.
And
I was gonna note that when I got it.
All right.
I'm Matt with Florida Utility Solutions. Thanks for having me today. Here to present the monthly report. Mitch is on vacation with his family, so trying to bother him as little as possible while he's gone. Operations at the facility throughout the month were in accordance with contract and regulatory requirements. All wastewater plant requirements were met. All water distribution requirements were met. There's a note here, which I wasn't prepared for. It says the reuse pump station functioning properly for outgoing pressure at the plant, which is a good thing. It says station 2, our station on the canal operating on 2 pumps and not communicating. I'll have to check with Elena about this note, unless you guys are what that means. The water treatment plant produced 2.33 million gallons of, or the wastewater treatment plant processed 2.33 million gallons of wastewater in August. The water treatment, it produced and distributed 2.93 million gallons in August, and the reused water reproduced 8.17 million gallons. We're at 839 meters, and we use 937 gallons of chlorine. Preventative maintenance inspected all pump stations weekly. Motor control weekly checks performed. Upsized auto flushers on Newport. Cage Drive needs to be cleaned and cambered, which is that lift station. 0 incidents on our end. OSHA related incidents, no injuries or anything like that. We did all of our normal safety training.
I got a question. You said you read how many meters? 893?
39.
839.
839?
Oh, one question. We were getting water intrusion into our collection. Did we figure out what was going on yet?
Yes, I believe that's the Cage Drive one. There's a lining in there that breaks down over time. And just whenever we get enough rain or groundwater intrusion, it's pretty noticeable at the plant. It's a lot of extra influence. So I know that Mitch has worked on, I think that's when he said needs to be camera, pumped and camera.
Okay.
So that we can make a determination on what repairs would be needed to prevent that from happening in the future.
Okay, good.
But when is that gonna happen?
There is a process to follow up on that. I don't know whether we have identified vendors or not today. But I think it's called a situ form or something like that. It's like a gigantic tube sock. And they will push that tube sock down through the line, and then they will activate some sort of catalyst that's impregnated in that with hot water to help seal those joints where that intrusion.
Yeah, there are different ways of doing that, and depending on where the leakage is, we need to look first at is it more economical to do that process to an in situ type of repair, or whether we actually do a dig and expose and replace that piece of fiber. It's very shallow, and maybe more cost effective to do the dig and expose it and fix it. But there is the institute, it's a farm type of process. There are two types of that even. One was like Neil was describing, it's a catalyst that's used, it's hot water, but they also are doing something new with the ultraviolet light and so forth that helps it set. So a little different process. It's just, it's been around in Europe for a while. It's finally being introduced to this country. But again, there's several different ways that repair can be effective. The first thing that we need to do though is make sure we go ahead and get that line TV'd so we can assess the damages. And then from there, we can come up with a solution to fix it.
I have a pretty good relationship with the company out of Fort Myers called Sewer Bureau. They have any history here?
I'm not sure if Serbia was actually worked on here, but I've used them on several different projects. There are a few other ones too that we can contact to see.
We typically use Earthview for that.
Okay.
Earthview is another one.
This is just the first time I've heard about
I think it's more than the lift station itself, the concrete, they're sealed, and as that seal breaks, concrete's permeable, so eventually and depending on how deep the lift station is, if it was in multiple sections when it was installed instead of one large basin, there's joints and everything.
We haven't been asked to look at it at all.
One other thing that we.
Did you say Case Drive also? I'm trying to keep.
One other thing that we've kind of forgotten about is that pipe going across the bridge over there.
Yeah, I thought that last
We
week.
should, being that we've been under budget on our line items, we should figure out what we're going to do with that. I know. Yeah. Now I know, Dave, you worked on pricing and whatnot for that. Can you bring me back up to speed on that?
We had looked and got some approximate pricing for that work, just some budget pricing. The next step, if you want to pursue it, is to go ahead and develop a bid package that will go ahead and solicit for bids, competitive bids for painting that.
Oh, that one needs to be bid out by 3?
Ideally, yeah.
Okay.
And we've got the force main, the water main, and there's also a fire irrigation main. And I'd have to do another look-see. But we may want to look at doing all 3 of them or some combination. There's 2 on one side of the bridge, 1 on the other side. And if we're going to be doing the 2, it might be more advantageous to do the 2 on the one side. And then if you want to hold off on doing the other one and do the other one separately.
Depends on how much their setup costs are. It might be more economical to do it all at once, but.
Yeah, it would be, because they're gonna probably need to bring a barge in. They'll probably use a barge to do the painting. I think, oh gosh, it's probably been a year ago that we did some investigation on it.
Yeah.
And I think that contractor was looking to bring a bridge in and give us the budget price.
And you feel that's something that we should do sooner than later, right?
Oh, yes, definitely. And there are some pipe supports too that probably need to be replaced too.
Okay.
I noted that.
So-
It's staying in off, and this is the US 41
Yeah.
bridge.
Yes.
Let's not forget about this then. Let's keep this on the top of our
We're going
list.
to move forward on both of these. The lift station is important because sewage plants don't like salt water. And if
Right.
high tides, we've had some really high spring tides recently. If we're getting a lot of saltwater intrusion into the raw sewage line, it causes them problems
Right.
when it gets to the plant. So I'll follow up pretty aggressively on that. And coordinate with Dave on these
Check.
repairs to the bridge and give you an update on that when I see you again in October.
Go ahead, Dan.
All right, check with Mitch on that because Paul Montez had an estimate, kind of a estimate of 100. And Mitch had company worked on some of his other plants that were down around 90,000 to get the same work done. So let's make sure that we keep with Mitch a little bit on that too, because he's got some insight.
So can one of us follow up on that for the next meeting?
Yeah, I'll follow up. And typically Dan is our board liaison on utility matters. And so if it's.
That's fine.
Do you want to do that, Dan, or do you want somebody else to do it? Because I know your plate's pretty full.
I can do it. I've talked with Mitch about it before. We've gotten some quotes for actually replacing it versus refurbishing it.
Right.
And I think it was, if I recall, the cost to Mitch had the best price to refurbish it was around 90 grand, and I think to replace it was 180, so about double to replace it.
Right. Now, we can't get any FEMA money out of any of that, can we?
We can, but we can't right now. That we do not have that pipe to refurbish that in on the grants that we're currently working on, but we can add them to next year's grants.
Because that would make a big difference in whether we're gonna fix it or we're gonna replace it. If we were confident that we would get it covered by FEMA, it would make sense to replace it.
Yeah, we'd probably be looking, it'd either be the impact with FEMA or it would be the DEP grants, the local grants probably that would pick that up.
What's the life expectancy of the, if we paint these new ones, if we refurbish these, how long are they gonna last after we refurbish them?
The life on duct wire and pipe and so forth is in excess of 100 years typically.
Oh.
If you keep it in good shape, again, refurbish it, get it painted, there's no reason why it shouldn't last that long.
So that's good enough.
The brackets or
Okay.
or the straps are the things that probably need to be
Right.
replaced. Get back.
Right,
Well,
I noticed.
So how old is it now,
There's
50?
one or two that were broken.
At the most. At the most.
Well, I don't know, how long was that, hotel there and that hotel there? It must have been up in the 60s. Or when did we put the plant in? When was the plant built?
Two of the lines I think are probably in the age range of 20 years, 25 years.
That's it?
One of them might be a little bit older than that.
Okay.
Okay, well, then that sort of leads us to
Yeah,
fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll run that down and we'll coordinate. Matt, did you have anything else?
No, if you guys have any other questions?
Yeah, what about the bug spray stuff?
Oh.
What about getting the trailer and the terrorist report,
Yeah,
whatever you guys had
last
to do?
month, Mitch did say that he would help relocate those containers.
Sure.
Yeah, the only thing that I know of that he mentioned that I would have to check on would be some sort of waiver that we needed signed, some sort of terrorism waiver. I can just ask Elena about that, but I mean, we could do it whenever.
Well, he said, he said he had to, like, the door to get in used to be locked. I mean, was, always
You had to
unlocked.
make sure the inside door is locked to their office area.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, not the door getting into the warehouses.
Right.
That can still be open? So,
Well,
because
I
we
don't know
can,
if they could be open, but you would have access to it.
Well,
just
that's
not
what I mean.
access to the rest.
that's what I mean, it wasn't locked before.
Probably
So,
should be, but
and we could use the chain that's on the container on the, gate.
Okay.
now I moved all that gravel, that was in front of that back gate there.
Yeah.
I moved it across.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
now how about the stuff that's on the other end? I kind of moved that so that you could get a truck through there. Is that good enough?
I'll have to look. I
Okay.
didn't pay attention to it. I just drove.
Yeah, I don't know why that stuff got dumped there, but
That's all right.
I moved
We'll
it.
get it figured out.
Some of the billings, the asphalt billings from Orangetown.
Thanks for moving that, Steve.
You
I
filled
know.
some in too, right? You must have filled in some of the holes too,
I
like,
tried to work on the
Yeah.
road, but that's kind of a lost cause.
well, it was better. I
You guys
noticed,
have a
I
machine?
noticed it.
You guys have a machine for that here?
I got a skid steer
Oh, yeah.
for now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Matt.
And if you don't mind, tell Elena, I need to speak to her as soon as possible about this one apparent misread at 199 Hayes Drive. That's the Thomas family.
Sure.
If she could give me the chronology on that, and just, I need to know that sooner rather than later.
Did,
I'll drive by there every year to see if it looks like the meters run faster. Is it, you know, if anybody's there consistently?
they are there.
They are.
She's there every day.
I think they're year round.
What would you expect that would have been caused by?
It could be either a leak, you know, on their side of the meter, or, you know.
How many gallons would 42 grand take?
4,200.
Huh?
Was it 4,200?
Dollars, yes.
But that's of course water and sewer, so.
Yeah.
But that would have to be a lot of water, wouldn't it?
Is that 16 period done? I don't know, like if it was is that 6 months worth?
Probably.
Well, that's what the final bill is, but you should be able to break it out. You
No,
have been
they're-
reading the
they're-
meters
They're
every 2 months.
regular meter readings.
Yes.
I just, if she could make that a priority, I would appreciate it.
Well, I left,
We'll look into
I filled up my pool and by mistake left it on for 12 hours. And another time I left the sprinkler system, because mine's not automated, I just turned it off and off, and I left that running one time. All in that billing cycle, and mine was only 533 for that whole time. So, and I mean, I overfilled the pool, was running and killing the salt water was killing my grass and everything, so. I know I used a lot of water, but it still was only 533, so I can't imagine what
It's a-
4,000.
No,
I'm also wondering about that bill of Joe Levy that we decided that we would adjust. He would pay for the water and we wouldn't charge him for the sewer. And from what I'm understanding, that adjustment didn't get onto his bill yet. If we could look into
I
that.
sent you an email on that.
Yeah, I think that, we've corresponded on that. I think that adjustment was made, but
Okay,
what's his last name?
Levy, Levy.
Yeah, I spoke to our senior accountant about that.
Okay.
That's been-
All right.
Dave, that takes us down the engineer's report, or I'm sorry, Tony, do you have anything for?
Just a few, prepared a draft complaint, chairman, with regards to legal district management, Caltech, so. Attorney, give a timeframe in which to provide, indicate this is what the option. But. Probably wants, it'd be a lawsuit, mandamus, compelling delivery of the records. We're asking for attorney's fees, statute.
Wait a minute, what are we suing? What?
Get the records, neither. The management company, Durrell Management, has not received all the records from premier district management.
Oh, okay, yeah, big surprise, yeah.
Specifically emails.
I think I should.
Other than those, chairman.
That was the last time.
I mean, so they're, that just. Quite frankly, Prep Mac, we've been going back and forth with the attorney for Prep Mac and I'm their voice about setting a deposition for the district's corporate representatives. We'll just keep you posted on.
So they're still pushing ahead on that?
Discovery, but that, so we're just trying to coordinate that corporate rep. And if you want to have any further sort of informal conversation, let Neil and I know. I think it's always, we always take the approach if people want to talk, let's talk. But right now, they're wanting to set the deposition of corporate representative. It never really pushed in the last 2 weeks, but it was a number of emails up until that time.
I think we're on an impasse.
Yeah, I don't want to talk more about the detail. I think.
Can you provide me with a copy of the complaint? Because I've got a prep call, I think, scheduled. It might even be next week.
Well, we'll just do that offline.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if I could get a copy of the original complaint in advance, then
I'll send
Isn't- Isn't there a statute of limitations or something on this?
I'm not gonna, well, if we're gonna talk strategy and legal, I'd rather not do it in an open session. So if you want to, if you can, feel free to give us a call.
No, I mean, it's just. Oh, well, okay.
I think the answer is no on that one.
Well, every cause of action is a statute of limitations, but I don't want to have that conversation in an open session.
He wants to keep his cards.
Okay.
I think, with regards to One other aspect is the clarification. I think we had some board discussions, the board expressed a desire to ensure that Lindsay Case and or the owner of parcel 13, if any requests are made for district staff, engineer, attorney to review documents. I think primarily in the land use context, but I think also the board indicated, since Mr. Case's law firm has requested a change to the utility ERC agreement, that the attorney's fees that be entailed, that also be charged. I just want to confirm that so I can communicate that to Lindsay's attorney. Is that's
Yes.
the understanding of the board?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, being we're talking about that, he called me, I don't know, a week or so ago. And he said that his application at the county was denied. And it's basically has to do with access to 41. The highway is, I don't know if he couldn't really articulate to me what the problem was. I don't know if they wanted to put in stoplights, I don't really know. But my question to him was, well, we've got hundreds of households coming out of Kay's Drive. I don't know why that's any different than what would be coming out of his side, but what he's saying is it pushed him back another month. It'll be in October now before they get back after it again. And he alluded to the fact that he may not need to buy the ERCs as early as anticipated. And if there gets to be a problem, one of the options are for him to drop down to 50 residential units rather than 109. So therefore he wouldn't need all the ERCs again, which of course, costs us about $800,000 plus all the income from that. But as far as I know, when the board wrote up this sales contract, I don't know if we protected ourselves from any of that possibility.
Well, it's based upon 100 units, 100 utility RCs. That's what was indicated as being needed for that project. That's number one. Number two, the board, regards to the project being denied, I've not heard that. We had a brief conversation about some comments back from the county staff, but the staff, typically the process is the person makes an application, staff reviews it for sufficiency, the staff responds with issues, concerns, comments, insufficiencies. The applicant's agents then respond. So I don't know if it's in one of those, they call it RAI, request for additional information, that the county has sent out, that it discussed a traffic signal at 41. Because FDOT may have stepped in. I don't know. I don't know if the county is coordinating or communicating with FDOT with regards to trip generations coming out of that.
I don't know.
I'm not a traffic engineer, and I don't know how that would warrant a traffic signal. Just from what my experiences with other communities, it took a long time, for example, for FDOT to approve it's a warrant study, signal warrant analysis. It took a while for FDOT to approve the signal warrant analysis to authorize the installation of the signal for public cities by federal street. And that's not constructed yet, but it took a while because FDOT is also fun to deal with when to permit construction of a signal. But that took a while to get the signal warrant for that. And so I'm not sure, again, what the trip generation is, but it's a signal warrant analysis that they use.
Well, and I think he's leaving this a lot up to his attorney and so forth. So how much of it he has firsthand knowledge of, I'm not quite sure. I assume he doesn't have the in-depth knowledge. He's just peripheral on it, but I'm a little concerned about what we're gonna end up.
Yeah, I'll
with.
look at the agreement, because I think I don't have it in front of me, I've not memorized it. I mean, there's a takedown schedule that's required for the agreement. So, I think we want to have a separate conversation about that, because that's board Thursday takedown schedule. That's all I have. Send any questions the board may have.
The other thing is that the last meeting that we had, when we had that 10-minute break, I went over and talked to JC and Tom from the hotel, and they were telling me that the restaurant and bar thing had fallen through. And a week later, The bar's open.
Oh,
So, I don't know.
somebody bellied up to the bar, I guess?
Tom hired a manager. And but obviously, I don't know. There's some gamemanship going on.
That's just an interesting fact from the record.
Yeah.
Dave?
Oh, wait, I still got a question. Did
Sorry.
you decide, I sent you that email so that we can say, am I a conflict of interest or?
Oh,
am
you
I
cannot
not?
vote on you have to abstain from voting.
Well, that's what I have been doing.
Yes. But you're not an officer or owner of that company, are you?
No,
And
I'm just a subcontract.
no, you can't do that.
Well, what am I? I don't know. Applicator?
Volunteer.
Volunteer?
You can't have a business relationship with the agency.
Yeah, you're supposed to do it for
Well, you
free.
don't have a business relationship.
Well,
You pay-
or a relative.
you pay-
Yeah,
But if
Yeah,
it's
you
a
are.
relative that owns, you can't have a contractual relationship with an agency, with an entity.
but if I'm only gonna do it once in a while for him, then like I said, if he comes out and does it all the time, I don't care. And I just want to be able to do it if he's going on vacation or if he's sick or
Well,
something like that. As long as I don't get paid or anything, then it's okay.
I apologize, I've not had a chance yet to check on all that. I don't know the rest of the short time frame, but yeah, number one, you cannot vote on the contract. You know that. You have to file a.
Right.
I have to abstain, announce it ahead of time and file,
Okay.
And then on the part, if you were to volunteer your time,
Okay, all right. Good. I don't want to speak.
Since our last meeting, we've been providing some assistance to the other district staff, including the easement use agreement out at 199 Case Drive and also 162, 163 Sunset. And then we also participated in a phone conversation concerning parcel 13. And again, we got some information for Tony concerning that. We did, on the other side, we got the folks working on the wastewater treatment plant permitting. And there is an RA, a request for additional information that had been received late August. Response is due by November 29th, so we do have some time. Several of the items we do have in process as far as being responded to. We've got our hydrogeologic person taking a look at the comments they have for that area. And then we've also got a meeting scheduled September 27th with Matt, I believe, to take a look at some of the things that we need to get their input on and get things resolved. So we'll be putting that response back together and getting it submitted, hopefully before November 29th, that we keep this thing moving.
What's November 29th?
That's the due date for the request for information, the additional information the DEP's requested. There's like a 90-day response time on that. Some of it will have to do with compliance schedules, making sure that one of the things was restoring the treatment equipment in the flood basin that it's in disrepair. And we talked about that last meeting, and Mitch was going to go ahead and get the price together as far as getting that replaced and repaired and so forth. And the department will be interested on the schedule as far as when that's going to be done.
So this is the result of the inspection.
The inspection, primarily, yes. Some of the questions that were asked were the review of some of the monitoring reports and so forth over the last 5 years. They found some discrepancies, some things they wanted to have explained and so forth. So anyway, those are being addressed. I believe Neil's probably got a copy of the request for additional information also, if you haven't received it yet.
I just added, and there is a conference with you guys, and also mentioned with the back on 25th or 29th, I forget.
And they'll be back. Where
The teleconference.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I have received it.
Were you gonna talk about the tank?
At this point, pending your selection of a district engineer, we thought it would be most prudent that we didn't prepare any kind of proposals and things like that if you do make a change in district engineer, so that the transition can be made if necessary. And if we're selected, then we'll go ahead and put together everything and get things rolling as far as next authorization to move ahead with the rest of the tank work.
we get the two estimates on the leak detection. Did we decide to get ahead of that at least and do it, or?
Ask Dan here.
We are under contract right now. We signed a contract for 6,000 and some change to have them come out and do it. We have to provide some access points to the pipe, which I spoke to Mitch about, and he's gonna get back with a date when he can get that done. So they have to, because we don't have valves available to break that 2-mile section of pipe up, we have to put in some little test holes where they can drop some monitoring equipment down to the pipe to be able to pick multiple leaks out of that pipe. So we're working on that. As soon as Mitch can get those done, they could come as early as next week to do the actual testing of it.
Dave, do we know that we don't have any valves in any of them pipes?
You know, I don't know that we have as-built drawings or anything. That we asked David about that a while back, if there's valves in there or drawings or stuff in there, didn't come up with any. So I guess at this point, all we can do is put the access holes in and go with it.
Something like that and not have a record.
That pipeline from the well field goes way back to the first development of the community. We are not aware of any plans. I've not seen any plans on that. You're correct. It doesn't make sense. They didn't put some kind of isolation valve somewhere in the line. Normal practice would be at least every quarter mile.
Yeah. And you would think that there would at least be a hand sketch or something that.
Yeah, we just have not
Wow.
seen anything.
Okay.
Well, without having any as-built or anything, all we can do is drop those. They're just a hole we dig down to the pipe. We can put a 3-inch PVC in there or something to hold it open. And then they can drop their monitoring equipment down. It's listening equipment that listen to the leaks. So that's what where we're going with it.
That thing's only what, a couple, 3 feet down?
Probably 4 feet.
Okay, in sand.
David, there's nothing further. And Dan, I'll need your engineering evaluation form, if you don't mind. I'll let you go.
Did you have a chance to send that?
I did send it to Kevin. He has it, but I'll send one to you, Neil.
Kevin's in Mississippi. Could you send the same thing to me? I'm sorry.
I can't. Oh, my form? Yes, you got it. I sent, sorry, I thought you were talking about the quote for the leak detection stuff. Yes, I sent you that. You should have it in your email.
Okay. We'll do that then in just a second because I'll need to use the iPad. Dave, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Dan, if you have my cell phone number, you can just text it to me as well. We're using the iPad in order to broadcast today's meeting.
I can do that.
Thank you. There's no old business, or are there any additional supervisor requests?
Well, let's do some of this other stuff that we haven't been addressing. And Kevin, you've got stuff, right?
I've got stuff, yes.
Give it to us, please.
Okay, we've been looking into doing some work over at Case Drive and Newport side, doing pressure washing the sidewalks and also all the concrete curbs and storm drain cleaning. We've asked for 3 quotes, but I've received 2. One of the quotes was $9,650.84. And the second quote,
47,000.
yeah, 40, you just might as well say 47,000. Yeah.
Wait, 9,047.
Way out there. 47,287.
No, they knew they weren't replacing the concrete, right?
Guess they're just proud of their work.
You can't get it if you don't ask.
Okay, so the other item we looked into with the help of Cindy there, or Carol, I'm sorry, was tearing down the walls we talked about earlier. We got a quote from Jolly Trucking for $22,500, and I don't know where we were at with other quotes. I do know that Soto had made a quote. I believe that was
Yeah, but I don't remember if that was for one side or both sides.
Right.
It's like 15 grand.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, so I'll say we'll look further into that.
Kevin Carter on my staff was involved with that maybe 2 months ago.
Right.
Did y'all develop the one book? Because it's both walls, correct?
Yes, it's both walls, yeah.
Okay. So the quote in hand was only for one?
No, the quote in hand for 22.5 is for both walls and footings.
Okay, yeah.
That's leaving the shrubbery and stuff, right?
Right.
Taking out the wall.
Really? That's just taking out the wall?
Yep.
Wow.
Sounds high.
Sounds like the job I'd like to do.
Exactly.
I'll do it for 46,000.
Neil, did you say that Kevin Carter is someone that bid on that?
No. He was involved in coordinating a proposal with the demolition company.
It also includes the shrubs that
Working with
touch the wall.
Kevin here.
Kevin Carter's our guy. It works for Neil.
So did he get any other price?
He may have one other price from Cougar,
Is that with the C or K?
a C. That's my recollection, but I'll speak to Mike Kevin at the end of this meeting. And if we get enough quote, then we'll need to share that with Kevin here.
I've got somebody that's interested in buying that property of mine too, and if that happens, I'd like them to make that decision. Right? I would try to get them to give us an easement to leave them in there if that's what the board wants to do, but it's up in the air. I don't know.
Yes. And
It only
Tony,
had them on one side.
on those walls.
JC wants it.
Yeah, JC wants his out anyway.
Property owners, or how's that?
Yeah, in order
we
to
take
be
it
able
out.
to maintain, spend public funds on it, you need to have a license agreement or easement agreement for the wall. So it's- Property owner could say you have time of years to allow it to remain, but.
So, let's go back to the sidewalks while we're still on that.
Right, I would like to entertain a motion that we go ahead and move forward with the lesser quote here and get it done.
Is that the entire community sidewalk?
Yes, K's and Newport Drive,
That the CID owns.
yes.
Okay, so not in front of the, just K's Drive and Newport.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I agree. I'd like to get that expensed in the current fiscal year. Good.
Why not?
It's motion.
I just did.
I'll second that. All in favor of this 9,600?
Aye.
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 All right, unanimous. So that, you think that will get done in the near future? Kevin, you think that'll get done in the near future?
I would hope so.
Perfect. Okay, what was the next one again?
Just for my notes, who's the vendor?
Imperial, I've got this on my email, I just give you that.
And then and your next item was what again? Oh, it was the walls.
Correct.
So, okay, now what are we gonna do on that?
Well, it seems like
We're gonna wait till we can get a hold of Kevin and find out what our lowest number is?
Yeah, with the Cougar. That's what I do. I
How about
suggest waiting.
Robert? Can we get a official bid from Robert Soto?
I believe we do have one, yes.
Who has it?
I have,
Right?
Oh,
Okay.
how much was it?
I believe 28,000 if I
Was it?
recall. That's what
I just don't remember.
yeah.
Well,
But that was
hold
for
on,
taking
we don't
trees, not the banyans. That was for
That was just all
taking out
the wall and the
the
small
wild
stuff.
palm trees and not the oaks and the banyan trees,
Right, just smaller stuff.
which,
Can we get an updated quote from Soto?
of course, he doesn't really want to do it though. He likes it because he gets paid to maintain it.
Yeah, and I would suggest once the board finalizes it, Yeah, whoever's trying to do the wall removal, they have to go into that first property.
That's what I was asking, yeah.
Yeah,
So as long as we're on that, then what about the median? Highway median.
Oh,
Well, I looked into that and talked to that gal downtown, Pamela, I believe it was, Butich or something like that. And she said our current contract says that if we cancel the contract, we have to return it back to the way it was.
well, I would have liked to get rid of it if there was nothing expense, but just think now, just to get rid of 2 monuments, we're paying 22,000.
Of course.
And to take care of the median every year is 29,000, right? It's starting to sound like it's not a big deal.
We've put over $500,000 into that, not a big deal.
I get it. Well, we're picking up this other over here now
The
too.
wall's 20-some thousand one-time deal.
Yeah, no, I
Median's
get it.
30,000 a year.
I get it, but that's ongoing. I mean, that's a community thing. I don't know if we make that decision or if we can somehow get this out to the community to see what everybody thinks as far as putting that back to nature or leaving.
That's
it the way it
fair,
is.
that's fair. How do we go about doing that?
I guess they're gonna have to show up.
Well, that's not gonna happen.
Well, we'll bring it up at one of the meetings and when everybody's back here and we'll take a consensus of people that show up. I think if we get the word out to them, we'll fill the place up for
Okay.
that.
Well, I mean, is
That's
there a
fair.
I
happy
think-
medium? Maybe we take
I
out
think
half.
there's a,
That's what I would suggest. Take out all the small stuff, leave the big trees and stuff
Yeah,
and get a
and it's still
different book.
Well, we get to talk to Robert, make sure he would accept that. I mean, as far as. you
Tony?
know,
yeah. I
It's
think
tough to
that's
take
what
it out.
I called Mr. Kiss. I don't have the agreement with me, but it might be one of those all or nothing deals as far as you can't just pick and choose which items you want to take out, because I think there's a landscape plan as part of it.
There is.
And so following on the board's idea of waiting until you have a larger population back, maybe have this as a November board meeting. I think that's when people are back, and have a memo prepared by Neil and I. With a copy of the agreement outlining what's in the agreement, what the requirements are, work with Mr. Barrett on that. So the board has a copy of the agreement and what the steps are in fact in the communications that Mr. Barrett has had.
And we should have the costs associated with that
An
also.
estimated cost.
Okay.
I think we have that comprehensive.
Who's got a
I
calculator?
think there's another option that we need to look at. The county pays for a lot of that landscaping on other state roads or in Naples, and I think that we should look deeper into getting some funding
Say it
through
with
either
our-
the state or the county.
Yes, she did say that they have what they call a beautification plan that you can sign up for. But she said right now it's 2 years out and it's just in the infancy of its development.
Okay.
Well, there
Goes
again,
fast.
if we thought that they would take it over in a couple of years, you know,
Yeah.
that would affect us a lot too. We might keep carrying that cost.
Well, currently they're doing stuff, they do Davis and they do,
951.
yeah, they do 951. I was trying to think of some of the other ones they do that they're already doing. They're getting money somewhere for that. I don't know why they can't take care of a piece in front of our community. So I think we just have to, maybe Neil can help us out there too. But I think that we have to look into that a little deeper too and push for that.
And that's another idea. The tax situation in this place here probably went up by a third dang near. The county is taking out hundreds of thousands of dollars out of this place, if not millions. And we are getting nothing from the county other than access to a school and an airport and some libraries. But as far as the day-to-day operations of this place, we're getting no return for our money. I would like to see, no, LaCastro's up for re-election, right? Is that in November?
Yeah, there's a primary.
Or is it another year from now? Or-
No, it's the next year.
Okay, I would like to get him to come to a meeting again and find out what the heck, why aren't we getting anything out of the county? I mean, they're just taking and taking and taking, and we're getting nothing in return. They should be taking over that median. They should be doing a lot of things in here.
Yeah.
Don't ask for anything, you won't get anything. We need to make up a
Yeah,
list of what we want.
The only other places that would be similar from the county's perspective, there is a taxing district in Immokalee for that portion of State Road 29 that is paid for exclusively by people in Immokalee. The same is true for Golden Gate City. That portion of the Golden Gate Parkway that runs through the city with enhanced landscaping is being paid for through a separate taxing district. I'm not opposed to seeing if we couldn't arrange to either go meet with the chairman of the commission, Mr. LaCastro, because we've got a very small project when they are otherwise doing all of US 41 from the city limit line all the way to Collier Boulevard. It's being paid for with county general revenues. I don't know what the source of the revenue is, but that might be a good angle to see if we could get him to take that portion, your portion of 41 along with the rest of them, because otherwise they're going to want to create a separate taxing district similar to the one in Golden Gate or Immokalee and pay for it that way.
Well, what I'm looking at is the houses that have been built in here in the last 2 years and the potential 109 that are going out in here. We're looking at about $3 million in impact fees to the county. Impact. How are we impacting the county when we're providing all the services?
I don't disagree with you. We could make the same case for I don't know how many, if any, children live here who go, but
There's a couple.
I would hate to think what this community sends to the Collier County School Board every year. That's the single largest portion of your property tax bill is in support of the schools. And there can't be but a handful of children who actually live here and are impacting the school system.
Well, I think that we need to start actively pushing this. And this is your background. You should.
Tony alluded to this. I think that if we go meet with him privately in advance, it'll be more meaningful than if you asked him to bring his standard, show on the road thing. And it's just,
all right.
He's going to go on and then
campaign.
Everything that he's achieved in his year as chairman.
Yeah.
And if you or Russ are interested, I'd be happy to schedule a meeting with either or one of you or the other and see if we can't see him soon.
You guys are pals, right?
He doesn't like me, no. He doesn't like me, so.
Well, let me determine his availability, and Steve, I'll coordinate that back through you, but I think it'd be more meaningful to meet with him privately in advance to see if he would consider.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he's going to bring his standard stump speech out here and he's going to have this entourage of county staff people and it will not be a meaningful meeting.
Right, we had one.
Yeah, we had one of those.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's a
And
campaign.
in the local paper, the free paper that comes out, the Florida Weekly or the Ocean Breeze, I just picked it up the other day, and LaCastro at his last meeting as the commissioner, they were talking about 3 big projects they're doing. One is in Isla Capri, and the other one was the medians, and how they're scraping them down, so they want them to be nice and flat, and they won't have any water runoff, and they were talking about matching dollars, and so they're really talking about a lot of this median beautification, what's going on all over the place. And his name is right there and he's certainly running on it. So it's probably really good time.
We need to know how many registered voters are out here. I think it's around 700, but I'm not sure. 716.
We're supposed to get a list of your, from Jennifer's office.
Okay.
Any other?
What else do we need to work on in here? Carol, you had some more suggestions or not?
No, it's just, even that big median that we were talking about, it's already planted, it's pretty. There's an awful lot of maintenance that goes on. So again, if there's a couple of things that could be not replaced, or do we still keep the water going even if Collier County wanted to take it over? A lot of good questions for that.
Those are business deals. I would think this board would be more than happy to cost share on the irrigation water if somebody else was assuming the responsibility for the landscape.
Okay, so we've taken care, or we're working on the mosquito spraying, getting the sidewalks washed,
Swales.
looking at, we haven't touched the swells yet. Let's talk about that.
That's next.
Just do that.
I did ride around with Soto and ask him to give me a price on cleaning out and restoring the swales that we're responsible for. So those are the laterals and the ones at the end of the street and all of Newport on
So
the side.
just to be clear, that means the 4 peninsulas and Sanctuary Point,
Right,
there's 2 laterals going and 1 on the end.
right.
That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about people's backyard.
No.
Okay?
And
And
we
then
go
over
to
on Newport,
On Newport, there's actually one of the culverts is broken, which was reported by a lady over there. I went to look at it, needs to be repaired. So we're looking at repairing that and then restoring the water flow on those swales.
now,
Not redoing every swale, but restoring some of the water flow on all of them.
does that go then all the way from 41 all the way down to Ladwig?
No, it starts just after the marina.
After the marina
It stops.
and goes how far?
Down to the turn,
To the turn.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so, yeah, because I was looking at that over there too. It starts after the marina, there's a big square box on
Right.
each side, that's the one that's broken, the
Right.
one that's kind of a tilt
The
you know.
one on, yes,
on the west side.
east side,
What about the one on the west side?
wasn't broken. It's
Just,
not
it didn't
ours.
look right, no? The big one, right before, it's in that first group of condos.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
not ours.
Okay, what about the, when you get to all the culverts, when you drive through there, now that we can see them this time of the year, normally it's filled in, but all the culverts are below the grade of the grass. You know,
Right.
they all dip down, so everything settles in the culverts.
Yeah, so we're gonna clean out all the culverts and then regrade it into the culvert.
But
You're
that
you're
doesn't,
gonna regrade all those
Not
swales
every-
in the front?
Not the swale all the way through, but where it comes into the culvert, probably 5 feet back, so it comes in. There are some bad humps that we'll take care of.
Yeah.
We're not gonna redo the whole culvert, no.
but people in here still have the idea that when it rains here, the water's supposed to run off. It's supposed to, it's not supposed to stand in the culverts, and it's not supposed to stand in the ditches, and it's not supposed to be on the streets. That's not how it was designed.
But there's one spot, Stellamere South, where it comes out onto Kay's Drive. The east side, that area where the water pools and everything. I don't know if something settled there.
Say that again?
All right, so
Is the
show it
east
to me
side,
and we'll look at
well,
it.
you can see it's all mucky there. You know what I mean? It's
Okay.
all, the French drain's all filled in. Every time it rains, it fills in.
Oh, that reminds me.
I don't know if that sounds like a big project.
The driveway at the marina there,
Yeah.
the fire station, you know,
Yeah, that's on my
they're
list.
full of water. We should have somebody cut the curb there or something to relieve that water there. It's been there forever. It's just bad.
Yeah, it's not good. Just maybe only one side needs to be cut, you know.
Is that county area, Steve, where the fire department is?
Not
There's always a pool of water
Huh?
right there.
Is
Yeah.
that water's all pulled out on the asphalt there?
It
It's not ours,
is, but
but-
I would guess that that's in our easement.
We go 25 feet, don't we?
Yeah, so my guess is it's our entrance into there. I mean, we can definitely double check on that to make sure that it is our responsibility, but I got a feeling it probably is.
I'll look at it.
Okay. Okay, so we got the swales taken care of, or, I mean,
I'm working on it.
You got that going, okay. We've got, what else? The meridian we're working on. What else is there?
I had somebody ask me about what's going on with the building out front that used to be the realtor's office. What is that now?
Last time I talked to Tom, there was that adventure group or whatever that was gonna use that. And I don't,
So
it's just like everything else. It's just one day it's this, the next day it's that.
It's a hotel
Nobody
property.
really knows.
Okay. Somebody wanted to make it a community center, but we'd have to pay for that, so I don't know.
Well, and then he's gonna want ERCs taken down. And I mean, they definitely pay for one where it does.
Weird shape building.
Yeah, no, it's weird.
I mean, I'd love to have it for the community center, but then we'd have to maintain it. But
With the KY,
Just finishing some work for us at Bailey.
oh, that reminds me that This fellow that's looking, that's interested in buying that east property of mine, I don't know if he'd need the whole thing. If the CID ever has an idea that they may want to put a community center in here, that's where the location should be. So I can't have input on this, one way or the other. I just want to put it out there that if the board has interest in that property, now's the time something has to happen with it.
Before it sells to somebody.
Before somebody else buys it.
I can't imagine what a community center would cost if it cost $22,000 to tear down 2 walls. So.
That's right. Well, 28 cents a
We
day.
wouldn't have to take the walls down.
Yeah,
That's right.
but you still gotta take JC's down, so.
Anything else?
We enter old business right now?
Yes, sir. Old or
Yeah.
other supervisor requests.
Okay, there's one, Neil, you were checking into, the documents from Home Montez, how they're stored, where they're stored, do we have them all, that kind of thing at our last meeting?
The answer is, I think that we have key documents that are in digital form, and they would expect to be compensated to do further resource or research, or what arguably are public records.
So in other words, if we hire a new engineering firm, we're gonna have to pay Home Montez to give us our records.
I said arguably. I would also make the claim that certain of those records are public records, and they can only charge reproductive costs, printing, Xeroxing, things like that.
Why wouldn't they all be public records?
I'll need Tony's help. Certain design work that they have done is proprietary or copyrighted. It's the engineer and the architect who owns it, but we're entitled for a copy of that, and I wouldn't think that we should have to pay them to research certain of those records. But if we make blueprint copies or Xerox hard copies, or we're doing scans that end up on flash drives and things like that, that to me are nominal out-of-pocket expenses that I would not have a problem with.
Well, do we want to talk about now who's gonna be our engineer?
Yeah, it's going to be someone new. I've received Mr. Truckey's, it's unanimous on the part of the board. You can look at it either way. Every board member had Magnolia, Barber, and Brundage ranked number 1. If you look at it in aggregate in terms of the total point factorization, Magnolia Barber, based off of their submittal, had 453 total votes when compared to 280 for Home Montez. And so I would need you to authorize Tony and I to go and develop in conjunction with that a proposed agreement to share with you, hopefully at your next meeting or no later than November.
And part of that is negotiating the compensation. Again, this is a two-step
Yeah,
process.
now you're entitled to know what the compensation element of that, either for what I would call base level engineer of record services, or what their hourly cost and estimates based on similar work would be, so you would have some budget ideas of what it was based off of their, willingness to proceed.
What about a termination? Do they have 30 or 60 days?
That would be part of the negotiations of the agreement, as well as the compensation.
He's talking about.
No, I'm talking about with Home Montez.
Oh, I have to pull that agreement up.
Okay. I'm gonna guess it's 30 or 60 days.
What I would suggest is that the board wait to see if the negotiations are successful.
Okay.
Because the way the statute reads is that if you're not successful with the first ranked proposer, you go to the next rank or you begin over again.
Okay.
And one other thing too, under the public records law, and then this gets into the issue about what is a public record or not. In Florida, it has been sort of fuzzy in their case law, but upon completion of the contract, Home Montez as the vendor has to transfer at no cost to the district all public records in its possession. And so that's the question, which ones are public records versus which ones are not. Because
Well, we paid for an architectural drawing.
Yeah.
And it's a study.
that would be,
That's public
well, it
record,
should have
right?
been delivered to the district.
Right.
So that's one thing we'll work.
And I think if we're not successful, then we open up the bid to the other firm that was
Yeah, the chairman and I have talked about that. We had two other firms express interest. And then what we would do is we would reject the remaining, and we would go back and we would re-advertise or re-solicit for interest.
How much of a time frame would that take?
90 days.
It's no wonder nothing gets done in government.
You know, I think there's an incentive for us to try and develop an acceptable agreement with Magnolia Barber. And you look at their proposals, they have extensive district experience and are just as qualified as I believe the city other.
So are we shooting ourselves in the foot though, losing the longevity versus billing us for 3 people every time he does something?
We don't know how the other guy's gonna bill,
No. Well, we're gonna find out.
but they have fewer administrators, they have fewer engineers. They dealt with rural areas. They have GIS or whatever the hell it is.
Don't go there.
That says they have it.
So do we.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that what that is?
yeah. So,
Okay.
We'll look forward to supporting. Sorry.
We need a motion.
Now, there needs to be a motion to direct staff to begin the negotiations with Magnolia Barber and Rundage based off of your short list of preference.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Dan, did you vote?
Yes.
For that?
Yes, I did. Yes.
I think that takes us down to public comment. We still have a handful of people who are on. Mr. Lee, did you have a comment today?
Frank?
Yeah, yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Barely.
Okay. Is this
There you
better?
go. That's much better.
Okay, thank you. A brief comment on the situation. I'm confused and a bit appalled. As I understand it, you paid for that work. It is your property. They've been the custodians of it for 25 years. The idea, if a civilian out there files a public information request, you have to furnish it and you may charge fees. But I don't see how they can charge you fees when you're the owner of the property. Very disappointing. Thank you very much.
That Tony has pretty much covered that.
Yeah, we may not be the owner of all the property.
Yeah.
And they'd just be reproduction fees.
Yeah.
And again,
Maybe.
the records that are public records, as defined by the court cases, Attorney General's opinions, need to be provided at no cost to the district. So that becomes the question of when do you differentiate between public records and not public records for an outside vendor? I mean, that gets case law that articulates that.
Frank,
I would think if you paid for it, that might be a good indication it's yours.
Of course.
There's a multi-part test under Florida law.
Yeah. Frank,
Okay,
as long
thank
as
you.
it's fine there, did you have anything more on the audio and visual stuff that you want to
Yes,
share?
sir. Yes, sir, I do. We've been working very hard and we think we've come up with.
Now,
We lost you, Frank, your Bluetooth.
Can you hear me?
barely.
I'm trying so hard. Here we go. How about now?
That's great.
Okay. We have come up with a couple of systems and at your October meeting, we would like permission to demo it. It's a real professional outfit. It will give you everything that you want, including the ability to, after a meeting's over, within 15 seconds to post it for anyone who wants to hear it. It will also give the ability to transcribe the entire meeting by artificial intelligence and have a written record. It will give immediate broadcast to Zoom. There are just a lot of features that will narrowly speak, and the audio quality should be much more superior. And we'd like to demo that at your October meeting.
Do you have a budget idea?
We're going to present several alternatives to you, but I'd like you to see the system and then see, you can buy segments or you can have the service provided to you for a monthly fee. What, you can look at all of it and decide what you want. If anything.
So we're gonna see
Okay,
it
thank you.
in October.
Anything else, Frank?
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for calling in.
We have a handful of other people. Any other public comment? You'd identify yourself? Apparently not. If there's no other public comments, Mr. Chairman, your next meeting is October the 20th. I'm sorry.
I just got a question. Kevin McPeak, 25009 Peacock Lane. You mentioned the last 2 or 3 meetings that the chemicals that you're using may not still be of quality.
Yeah.
In all the conversation here, you're talking about months, maybe a year or 2 before the county take over. Have you talked about replacing those chemicals?
No, we've got the chemical, what happens is the chemicals are stored in the warehouse at the water treatment plant. But then when we move it to the tank, to the sprayer, it goes inside that container, which goes up to 140 degrees during the day, and that's where the chemicals are breaking down.
In
So,
the applicator.
Yeah, so
In
in
the
the
application, it wasn't in the storage shed originally.
Right, that this full season is the first time it's been in the storage shed the whole time.
I know it's been great. Well, it's been good up until this year.
Yeah, it's so swamp. And plus we can move-
So the chemicals that you have at the water plant are still here.
Right,
Okay.
so we're gonna try and move the sprayer back in as soon as we get this
That makes sense.
anti-terrorist
I
thing.
understand now.
And if we can get an aerial spraying
That would be great.
earlier, I at least see how it affects us.
Because I think they use the same stuff. I think that's the only thing that's.
But they get everywhere.
Non-toxic
Yeah.
type
So
stuff,
is
yeah.
there any concern about the aerial spraying? I mean, they're spraying down, it's falling on.
Well, that's what I don't understand.
everything.
That's what I don't understand how they do it, because when I do the spray with the, with the fogger, it goes up. So I don't know, I have it shooting straight out, and by the time I turn around and whatnot, it's up in the trees. So I don't know how that other stuff's gonna fall. They must use a different, vehicle or
But I
something.
guess saying is are we concerned about those falling down? Like, do they do it like in the middle of the night, or we're all
Oh,
outside?
yeah,
Yeah.
not spraying?
Well,
It's done at night.
And my guess is we would notify
Yeah.
when that's gonna happen, in case, I don't know if it would ever have any effect on cars and whatnot, but I
That's
doubt
what,
it.
yeah, that was my question, car, anything.
I don't know.
And then, of course, there's gonna be a whole segment of people too who are gonna be upset because it's gonna be going into the water as well.
Yeah,
So,
Well,
you
that's
know,
another
it's,
issue. There's only certain times a year.
it's
you
gonna
can
be a
do it.
catch-22.
Correct.
and how many times they do it, I don't know, because. But
Your instructions to me were see if they were willing to do it on a pilot basis in advance of him making a presentation at your October meeting.
yes,
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so then I would coordinate notice through the chairman, and we don't have the ability to do blast emails, but we would use the resources that we have to let people know that aerial spraying is scheduled for
with all,
October 3rd, whatever.
I can't see how that's gonna happen. I just, with all the hoops we have to jump through for all this other stuff, we gotta wait 9 months.
But if he's willing, then I'll show that in the next.
Speaking of emails, we kind of gave up on that whole idea. Dan, your brother-in-law was looking into that for us, right?
Yes, he had all the information for you. It was forwarded at one point.
You think that we should continue to try to make that happen?
I think, if you're asking me, I think the email is a good thing.
I agree. Nate, go ahead.
Why can't we have a bulletin board on the website? Can we do that? Can we have an area on our website that we have a bulletin board that we can like put up stuff for people?
district announcements.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not, I mean, I think it's perfectly appropriate for district activities or access. to-
right, that's the only thing it would be, like.
Not
I'm looking at
advertising.
the swales, I had one person,
Yeah,
Tell me about
the
it.
short answer is yes, and then I still think it would be good, I'd be curious if in our current customer profile, for utility purposes, if we're capturing emails, and if not, we should through the next, or a convenient billing cycle, because it would be helpful to be able to send, blast emails. I have the ability to do that at Pelican Bay and Pelican Marsh, but I go through the Master Homeowners Association because they have a billing relationship with them, but I'll
So I'd like
explore
to see
that.
a bulletin board because, I spent probably 15 minutes on the phone with the water people. Uni billing, having them explain to me the bill. And if I could have put that explanation on the bulletin board, I would save a lot of people's phone calls.
And one thing though, with regards to if you're going to use utility loaning email addresses, it needs to be that disclosure to the individual that by providing the email address to the district becomes public record. And then some people balk at that. Even though they'll send you an
They can
email.
opt out, that's fine.
That's just one of those, it's interesting, they will send their public officials an email, which makes it a public record. They won't sign a document that they acknowledge it.
Is there a single family homeowners association here?
No, there's a whole bunch of them. But Steve, Dan Truckey's brother-in-law, Steve, I think has the names of all that stuff. He pretty much all that, yeah.
I'll make a note of that. We'll introduce ourselves to him. Just see. What's your?
I'll ask Steve to resend that to you, Neil, because I know that he said he sent it out a long time ago and hadn't heard back that anything was being done with it. But I'll have him resend it.
Yeah, we really should get that. We need that.
With that, again, if you'll note, October the 20th, it's your next regular meeting, and that'll be at 9:30 here in this room.
One
Right.
other question. Uni billing, I mean, have they gotten anything with ACH or credit cards so that we can start having our?
They're working on a new vendor, and they hope to have that information to be next week, a new ACH vendor. I should tell you, we've received $36,000 in revenue in the first 10 business days. So people have promptly paid the bills that they were sent, either through an auto pay, which is available, or a hard check, or in the case of these folks yesterday.
Where was auto?
Yeah, where was the auto pay?
Through your bank.
When you go on the website,
You can't
do it.
You can't do it.
Yeah, I couldn't do it either.
I
Somebody sent
I
me
tried.
that.
You would do it through your bank.
But there's no place on Uni billing to put that information in.
Let me get an answer for that then. because
Am I
that-
right?
I
couldn't do it.
looked for it because I thought, well, before I do this, because it said, go on to this, sign up, I did all that, and I'm like,
Then they send you an email, you verify your
You don't
email
have-
address, you go back in, there's still no place to
Without
put it.
their ACH vendor, you do not have the ability to do an e-check, and there's a difference between auto pay and e-check.
You couldn't put in any information on your bank.
Yeah, the last one, you just put a routing number in.
Russ, what are you spraying for mosquitoes?
Duet,
Excuse me?
Duet. It's called DUET. It's a pesticide.
I think she
No,
said
when?
what?
Oh, when? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, usually, sometimes Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 3 times a week.
2 times a week?
3,
3 times, and then is it at like 10
dusk,
o'clock, 11 o'clock, dusk?
dusk. That's when we, yeah, so now it's been like around 8 o'clock. Nobody's been out because there's nobody here, but,
I hear you going now.
Yeah.
Last night, I believe.
what was yesterday? Wednesday?
Thursday.
No, yes, no, I didn't go last night.
Maybe not last
It was
night.
Wednesday.
We were out, we were watching, so I don't
Yeah.
know.
So it's 3 times a week.
When will we expect to see minutes again?
Within 7 days, I'm going to forward those to Annalise because she's taking what appears to be pretty good notes here. And then as part of that, we will have her suggested edits as part of the materials that we send a week in advance. The only reason I didn't do it this time, I didn't have the bank statement yet. And I was waiting on other proposals because we just met 2 weeks ago.
Now, the other thing on our website, on the home page, you've got the agenda, and then below that, you've got minutes of meetings. When you open the minute meetings, it comes up with how to access the Zoom meeting. So it's not listed correctly. You know what I'm saying? Are you following me?
No, but he's the one that coordinates that with our web host
Okay.
So say it again.
So there, on the homepage, it has two icons that you can put on. One is the agenda, and the one below that says minutes, meeting minutes. If you push on that one, it doesn't go to minute meetings. It goes to how to hook up to Zoom.
Okay, so then it's just something needs to just be switched on the website.
Right.
I did not know that until you just.
Yeah, I'm also told that if you need to refresh that page too every time you go on there, because otherwise it will still be showing an old meeting date. And you may need to click refresh, because then it will automatically tell you what the next scheduled meeting is. We found that little glitch.
So then that needs to be printed on there as well, right?
I'm
It
sorry.
needs to be printed on there so that the person trying to find the current meeting will know to refresh.
Typically not. But I mean, we could add that language if necessary. That's the way it was designed.
Yeah, it's helpful just to kind of give the directions. I'm technically challenged.
Not any more than me. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Right.
Thank you all.